Success, a word we hear every single day, a word repeated so often that most people stop questioning what it actually means. For some, success means money. For others, status. For others, freedom. And for some, it means finally feeling calm inside their own mind. But the Stoics looked at success in a completely different way. They believed that success does not begin in the outside world. It does not begin with circumstances. It does not begin with recognition. They said success begins in the mind. We live in a world where almost everything important is outside our control. The economy can change overnight. Politics can shift without warning. The weather ignores our plans. People misunderstand us. The past cannot be rewritten, and the future refuses to cooperate. We can prepare, we can plan, we can work hard, but we do not directly control outcomes. And this truth makes many people anxious. The human mind craves control. It wants certainty. It wants guarantees. It wants to know that effort will always be rewarded. But life does not work that way. This is where the Stoics made one of the most important discoveries. In human history, they realized that trying to control everything leads to frustration. Trying to control people leads to disappointment. Trying to control outcomes leads to constant fear. So they asked a different question. What if the problem is not lack of control, but misplaced control? They divided life into two categories: things you control and things you do not. You do not control events. You do not control other people. You do not control the past. You do not control how the world responds to you. But you do control how you think about what happens, your judgments, your interpretations, your internal dialogue. And this is the only territory that truly belongs to you. Two people can experience the exact same event, the same loss, the same rejection, the same failure. One becomes bitter, the other becomes wiser. One collapses, the other adapts. The difference is not the event. The difference is the thought that follows the event. The Stoics understood something most people never realize. Your first thought is not always your own. It is conditioned. It is learned. It is shaped by fear, habit, and memory. And if you live on autopilot, those thoughts will run your life. This is why the Stoics believe that mastery of the mind is the highest form of success. Not money, not influence, not applause. Because money can disappear. Influence can fade. Applause always ends. But the ability to remain steady under pressure, to think clearly in chaos, to choose your response instead of reacting blindly. That is power that cannot be taken from you. The modern world teaches the opposite. It says, if the outside changes, you'll be happy. If you achieve more, you'll feel secure. If others approve of you, you'll feel whole. The Stoics said, this is the trap, because anything that depends on the outside can be taken away. External control is an illusion. Mental discipline is a practice. It is quiet work, invisible work, uncelebrated work, but it is the work that determines who you become. And this brings us to a simple but uncomfortable question. What thought are you repeating today? Without even noticing it, every moment of your life is filtered through thought. Nothing reaches you directly. Not success, not failure, not praise, not rejection. Everything arrives already interpreted. Most people believe their thoughts automatically. They hear a thought and assume it must be true. I'm not capable. This always goes wrong. They don't respect me. I knew this would happen. But the Stoics warned against this habit. They understood something essential. A thought is not a fact. Thoughts are mental events. They arise, they speak, and they disappear. If you treat every thought as absolute truth, you surrender control of your life. The Stoics trained themselves to pause between the event and the thought. This pause is everything. Without it, reaction is automatic. With it, choice becomes possible. When something goes wrong, the mind speaks immediately. It labels, it judges, it predicts disaster. This is bad. This shouldn't be happening. This means something about me. The Stoics called this an impression. An impression is the first appearance of a thought. And here is the discipline you do not have to accept. Every impression, you can question it, you can test it, you can delay agreement instead of saying, this is terrible. The Stoic would ask, what exactly has happened? Instead of saying, I can't handle this. The Stoic would ask, what part of this is under my control? Instead of saying, this ruins everything. The Stoic would ask, what does this require of me right now? This shift is subtle, but it changes everything, because now thought becomes a tool, not a tyrant. A tool is something you use, not something that uses you. A hammer is useful when you choose to pick it up in the wrong moment. It only causes damage. Thoughts work the same way. Some thoughts are constructive. They clarify, they stabilize, they guide action. Others are destructive. They exaggerate, they weaken resolve, they drain energy, Wisdom is knowing. The difference, the Stoics practice mental distance. Instead of saying, I am anxious, they would say, I notice anxiety. Instead of saying, I am angry, they would say, I observe anger forming. This language matters because what you observe that you can influence, what you identify with controls you. Most suffering comes not from events, but from stories. We tell ourselves about them. Stories about failure, stories about unfairness, stories about identity. The Stoics did not try to eliminate thoughts. They trained how to relate to them. Here is the practical rule. When a thought appears, ask one question. Is this thought helping me act with clarity or pulling me into emotion? If it helps clarity, use it. If it fuels chaos, replace it. This is not denial. This is discipline. You acknowledge reality. Without dramatizing it, you accept facts. Without surrendering strength, the more you practice this the quieter the mind becomes. Not empty, not numb, but precise. And this is where freedom begins, not in controlling the world, but in controlling what you allow to live in your mind. Understanding thoughts is only the beginning. Awareness alone does not change a life. Change happens when awareness turns into action. The Stoics were not interested in theory for its own sake. They asked one question: how does this help me when life becomes difficult? Because philosophy is tested not in calm moments, but under pressure, when plans collapse, when people disappoint you, when fear appears suddenly. That is when thoughts either support you or sabotage you. Let's look at how. Destructive thoughts actually work. They follow patterns. The mind repeats what it has learned, and most destructive thoughts fall into a few categories. The first pattern is exaggeration. This is a disaster. Everything is ruined. I'll never recover from this. The event itself may be difficult, but the thought turns difficulty into catastrophe. The Stoic response is not optimism. It is precision. Instead of asking, why is this so bad? Ask, what exactly happened? Not the story, not the prediction, just the facts. When exaggeration loses fuel, clarity returns. The second pattern is personalization. This happened because of me. This proves something is wrong with me. This means I'm not enough. The Stoics rejected this immediately. They understood that most events are not personal. They are impersonal, neutral, unconcerned with your identity. Instead of asking, what does this say about me? Ask, what is required of me now? This shifts the mind from ego to responsibility. The third pattern is prediction. The mind tries to jump into the future. This will only get worse. I know how this ends. There's no point continuing. But the future does not belong to your imagination. The Stoics warned against borrowing suffering from a future that does not exist. The disciplined response is simple. Return to the present. Ask, what is the next right action? Not the entire path, not the final outcome, just the next step. Here is the Stoic replacement method. You do not fight a thought. You replace it. A weak thought cannot survive next to a stronger one. For example, instead of, I can't handle this, replace with, I have handled difficult things before. Instead of, this shouldn't be happening, replace with, this is part of life. And I will respond with discipline. Instead of, I need this to go my way, replaced with, I will do my part and accept the outcome. Notice something important. These replacements are not emotional. They are grounded. They do not deny difficulty. They remove helplessness. This is Stoic strength, not forcing positivity, not pretending pain does not exist, but refusing to add mental suffering to unavoidable reality. At first, this practice feels unnatural. The old thoughts will return. That is normal. The Stoics expected this. They did not aim for perfection. They aim for consistency. Every replacement is a small victory. Every pause is a strengthening of character. Over time, the mind learns which thoughts are allowed to stay, and slowly, without drama, without noise, your inner world becomes steadier. This is how mental mastery is built in real life. Not once, but daily. Mental mastery is not a single decision. It is a practice, something trained daily, like a muscle. The Stoics understood this deeply. They did not rely on motivation. They relied on routine. Without training, the mind defaults to fear, to habit, to reaction. With training, the mind becomes stable, measured, and clear. The first Stoic exercise begins in the morning, before the world has a chance to influence you. They would remind themselves, today I will encounter difficulty. People may be impatient. Events may not go as planned. This is not pessimism. This is preparation. When you expect challenges, they lose their power to shock you. And when they arrive, you are ready. The second exercise is attention during the day. The Stoics trained themselves to notice when emotion began to rise. Anger, fear, impatience, resentment. not to suppress it, but to pause before acting. In that pause, they asked a single question. Is this within my control? If yes, act with discipline. If not, release the tension. Prevents wasted energy. The third exercise comes in moments of discomfort. The Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort, cold water, simple food, temporary inconvenience, not to punish themselves, but to remind the mind, I can endure more than I think. This builds confidence that does not depend on comfort. When real difficulty appears, it feels familiar. The fourth exercise is perspective. The Stoics regularly zoomed out mentally. They imagined their problems from above, from the scale of a city, from the scale of a lifetime, from the scale of history. Most problems shrink when seen clearly. The final exercise is the evening review. At the end of the day, they asked 3 questions. What did I do well? Where did I lose discipline? What will I improve tomorrow? Not with guilt, not with judgment, but with honesty. This review turns experience into wisdom, and wisdom into stability. None of these exercises require special conditions. They require awareness and repetition. Over time, these small practices reshape the mind, not dramatically, quietly, until one day, you realize you respond differently than you used to. This is Stoic training, not escape from life, preparation for it. By now, you have seen how thoughts shape reality, how awareness creates choice, how practice builds strength. But all of this is not merely for personal calm, it is for independence. True success is not in what the world gives you, it is in what the world cannot take from you. External events will always change. People will let you down. Luck will fluctuate. Fame will fade. Money will disappear. But your mind, trained and disciplined, remains yours. This is why the Stoics said mastery of the mind is the highest form of success, because it is permanent, because it is unshakable, because it defines who you are, regardless of circumstance. Think it this way. 2 people face the same challenge. One collapses, the other adapts. The difference is not talent, resources, or luck. It is the inner strength built through awareness, practice, and choice. Inner independence is not isolation. It is resilience. It is freedom from the constant sway of fear, opinion, and desire. This independence creates long-term stability. It does not prevent challenges. It does not remove suffering. It prevents you from being ruled by them. Imagine a life where criticism does not break you, where failure does not define you, where success does not inflate you, where every day You act according to principle. Not impulse. This is the ultimate form of freedom. It is rare. It is hard-earned. It is the reward of consistent mental practice. To achieve this, return to the questions we started with. What thought today deserves to be replaced with a better one? Which impressions will you accept, and which will you challenge? How will you act, not out of habit, but with deliberate choice? Every day, each small decision compounds. Every thought corrected, every reaction chosen, every practice repeated, builds your fortress of inner independence. This is your success, not measured by applause, not measured by wealth, not measured by others' approval. It is measured by you. The Stoics leave us with a simple truth. The world may never give you control. The world may never reward you fully. But your mind is yours, and mastery of it is the highest achievement. Carry this lesson daily. Replace thoughts that weaken you. Practice the exercises that strengthen you. Review your actions with honesty and step into each day with deliberate choice and inner independence. Success, as the Stoics teach, is built from the inside out, and it lasts, because it cannot be taken away.